Welcome back, literary slummers, to another Slummer Reading episode of HateRead. I'm one of your Animorphs, M.
And I'm another of your Animorphs, Anna. Normally on HateRead, we try to challenge each other to read books we think the other will hate, but this summer, we are making our way downtown.
Walking fast.
Faces past to Animorphs town. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Very good, yes. Yeah, so we're reading Animorphs.
We're reading as many of the Animorphs books as we possibly can this summer. And today we're here to talk to you about Animorphs book number 7.
I would actually challenge you on we're reading as many Animorphs books as we possibly can this summer, because if I was not fettered by the confines of this podcast, I would have breezed through this entire series by now. I'm so invested.
This is true. This is okay.
Myself.
We're reading as many Animorphs books as the podcast will allow us to this summer. And today we read book number 7, The Stranger, which is a Rachel POV and features a grizzly bear on the cover. What did you think?
Okay, so for the first probably 40% of this book, I was like, oh, the magic is gone. This is just fine. But then some shit went down, and I'm mind blown. I'm like, how is this only the 7th book, and we're already getting into this shit? This is insanity.
You should have had more faith in K.A. Applegate.
I was a fool.
She's like, I'm gonna give you this boring book. Oh wait, no, I'm not.
Y'all, time travel, bitches.
Yes, the Animorphs multiverse now is what we have been presented with in this book.
It was intense, and I have a lot of questions and a lot of theories and a lot of just stuff I need to talk through.
I'm very excited to hear all about it. Okay, well then I guess we should just get into the summary so that way we can get to your theories as soon as possible.
I've said a lot of theories. I think I have one theory, maybe.
That could be a lot to some people. I don't know.
A lot, by which I mean one.
It could be a very in-depth and out there theory, and that would constitute as it's a lot.
Sure, yeah, it's a lot to take in emotionally.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's do this. So, Rachel is a child of divorce, and this weekend it is Dad's weekend, and so Rachel and her sisters and her dad and Cassie, because I guess Rachel needed a friend there to feel okay about going to the circus, all go to the circus. And Rachel sees how badly the elephants are treated. They're being prodded with cattle prods. They're being prodded with prods. And so she gets really mad and decides to sneak into the elephant enclosure and then turn into an elephant.
Which I have to say, I mean, I know that we should be nice to animals, but I have to say, I think the mistreatment of the elephants in this was kind of I was kind of underwhelmed. And I guess it's because it gets so grimdark in other places. I was like, okay, so they're zapping them with cattle prods, which are used on animals which are much smaller and less hardy than elephants. I feel like that's not that. I mean, I'm not saying you should zap elephants with cattle prods, but...
Yeah, no, circuses are generally pretty bad for animals.
Yeah, in general circuses, let's just not. But because these books have gone so hard in the paint in terms of just utter misery before, I was like, oh, that's it? They're just kind of cattle prods, which that's a little fucked up that I'm now desensitized to animal cruelty, unless it's they're chopping the elephant's ears off when they don't behave, but
man. Yeah, no, I think it's kind of speaking to Rachel's very Xena warrior princess nature, where she sees an injustice and immediately goes out to try to right it.
And of course she has the special connection with elephants being...
That's true. She is half elephant at this point.
She just does elephant all the time.
Yeah. So she goes into the elephant enclosure or cage or whatever and morphs into an elephant. And then when the trainer comes back, she grabs him with her trunk and lifts him up and talks to him and is like, I am the god of elephants.
No,
don't hurt them anymore.
Comes up with, because I would say the god of elephants would be I'd be on board with that. because it would be like, ooh, some metaphysical shit. But she's like, I'm from the Elephant Patrol, from the Elephant Police.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's like, I'm from the Elephant Police or something.
And I'm like, all right. This is also the moment where it is confirmed that Rachel is the most bloodthirsty Animorph. Because
yes. Oh my god.
Cassie's like, don't hurt the guy. And Rachel's like, I'm gonna fuck him up. And Cassie's like, you need to chill.
Yeah, so Rachel is like, I really want this guy to get the message. So I'm not going to kill him. I'm not going to stomp on him, Cassie. Don't worry. But I will lift him up and throw him onto a roof that is 20 feet away.
Mm-hmm. That guy's dead, right?
Yeah, like, I don't think he's going to be walking away from that, Rachel.
No, to be fair, it wasn't a roof. It was the top of a tent. Which I feel like is more dangerous because he's going to fall
because he would just slide down and then fall, right? and she like delivers this line like, can you fly? I'm gonna make you fly.
Yeah, it's
throws him like, Rachel.
It's very Batman.
Yes. So Rachel's already like, on fire for this book. But then after the circus, Rachel's mom and dad tell Rachel and her sisters that the dad is moving to another state 1,000 miles away for work, and basically ask Rachel to choose between the mom or the dad. I was like, oh god, like, I'm also a child of divorce, and just like thinking about putting your child in that position, that's rough, dude.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, I don't know what else they could have done with that, because it's like, you at Rachel's age, like, you would want to give them an option, I feel like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But because she's 13, like, she should be able to she should have some sort of agency in her life. And I mean, it's not really the dad's fault. Like, he did get a job somewhere else. I mean, I don't know, maybe he should have turned that job down. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, like, you have to sacrifice some stuff, I think, if you want to stay present in your kid's life in this situation. Like, my parents lived in 2 separate cities, but like within a 25-minute drive of each other. But even that was difficult at times, because you don't, like, you have to have very specific times when you can see each parent, because obviously the other can't just drop you off at school in the morning real easily. And so, I don't know, it just, there is that distance there. And I can't imagine your dad going all the way to another state for a job. I don't know. I question that move on his part.
Not even just another state, because that could be like, I live in the tri-state area in like Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. So I mean, like, I know people who have kids in other states, in the sense that the states are pretty close to each other and you can easily drive there for a weekend. Like, they specifically say this job is 1,000 miles away from where they are living, which is that's not a every weekend drivable distance. Like,
yeah, and he says like, oh, that's what they have jets for. Like, you're not gonna have a private jet though.
Right. And I mean, well, this kind of gets back to the point of like, maybe he should have just turned the job down, because it's like, neither of the parents seem to be hurting for money, right? He's a news anchor and
Rachel's mom's an attorney.
So it doesn't seem like, oh, I have to take this job to give you kids a better life. It seems like he's like, oh, this is my dream job, I want to do it, so I'm just gonna go. I'm like, I don't know, man. You got 3 kids, and 2 of them are definitely not gonna be able to come live with you, and are very young, and like, you should probably be there for them. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially he's just like tearing this family apart, and is like, I guess fuck my other 2 daughters. Right. I'm not going to fight for custody for all of the family. I just want the good one that's like a boy, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually pretty admirable that he isn't trying to fight for custody for all of them, because I feel like that would be even shittier, because like, they have a life there, these kids, and he's being a dick, I think, by moving 1,000 miles away from his kids. And again, I'm not saying that that's always the case. If like, you're in a certain financial circumstance or whatever, you want to provide certain things for your kids that moving further away might be able to do. But in this circumstance, it seems like he's being very self-centered with his decisions.
And a little bit like emotionally manipulative
Yeah.
too. You'd be like, think I could get you in real good with this gymnastics coach, and think of all the ball games we could go to. It'd just be me and you, and I'm afraid to be all on my own, Rachel, so come live with me.
Yeah. Not the best.
Not a good look, Mr. Rachel's dad. Rachel gets really upset by all of this and decides the best thing to do is to go flying, and so she turns into, I don't know, does she take the eagle form? I think. I don't know. She has like 3 birds. It's kind of unfair. She becomes an eagle and goes to the garden and acquires a grizzly bear morph. She just like lands in the cage, turns into a human, and then goes and touches a grizzly bear. It's fine.
Well, the grizzly bear knows no fear, so the grizzly bear is fine with this.
That's true. He's like, I have nothing to be afraid of. I'm not territorial at all.
I'm a grizzly bear.
Meanwhile, Marco and Tobias have discovered another entrance to the Yeerk pool in the mall.
Which is, again, a moment in which we realize Jake is a shitty leader. Because
Jake is such a bad leader.
Tobias and Marco are like, hey, we decided to do some surveillance and follow around the people that we know are controllers. And like, check it out, track him. Like, Tobias is doing air surveillance. I'm doing like land surveillance. Well, I guess, it's all kind of land. So anyway, and everyone's like, you didn't let us in about this. Like, why didn't you tell us? And it's like, why wasn't Jake already doing this?
Yeah, why didn't Jake orchestrate this?
This is a very obvious move, right? Like, what have you got? Again, they're not practicing. They're not apparently doing surveillance. What are they doing in between these instances? In between these, like, there's usually like a week or so that seems to pass in between each book.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they doing? Like, Jake.
I don't know. Watching cartoons. Yeah. I have no idea.
Team bonding. Like,
I don't understand why. And this has kind of been like bothering me for a little while, and I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, but the fact that Axe can take all of their DNA and morph it into one human, why can't they ask Axe how to do that so they can start making these like hybrid animals?
Yes. Or even hybrid people so they can do surveillance more. Like,
oh yeah, that too.
But of course they wouldn't think of that because they're not doing any surveillance unless they plan it themselves. Instead of their shitty leader who doesn't lead ever doing any planning. They
probably didn't tell Jake because Jake would have been like, nah, that's not a good idea. Let's not do that.
They probably didn't tell Jake because Jake's opinion doesn't matter.
He would have messed it up somehow.
Right.
He would have been like, okay, let's all become bugs and go to the mall.
Exactly what I was about to say.
God damn it, Jake. So the entrance to the Yeerk pool is in a dressing room at the Gap. And it exits at the movie theater. Which I guess my question is, how many controllers work at the Gap? Because that would be, like, you just need, like, one new hire to be like, no one's coming out of that dressing room. What's going on?
Yeah, my question is, why do they have the exit and entrance in a different place?
That's a good question.
Why isn't it just the entrance is at the movie theater and the exit is also at the movie theater? Because that would make way more sense because nobody is keeping track of who all is going in and out of a movie theater.
Except Tobias.
Except Tobias. But people who work at a retail store theoretically are supposed to be keeping track of who goes in and out of a dressing room.
Yes. It's so weird to me. Like,
what is also weird to me is the fact, and this is another one of those instances where I'm like, maybe I just don't know about this, and I'm legitimately putting a call out into the universe to see if anybody can answer this for me. At one point, they're like, oh, we went and put our stuff in the coin lockers at the mall.
Uh-huh.
Do malls do that? I mean, like, probably not now, because if they had lockers, it would be like the type with keypads and whatever, but
they used to. Like, they would have them by, like, the restroom area. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Why? That seems like it would just encourage, like, stealing, right? Like,
yeah. I don't know if I would leave anything. Maybe it was more like...
No, I mean, like, more like...
there's no
like,
good way to do that.
From a mall security standpoint, having lockers would make it a lot easier to go, like, get a shirt from Abercrombie, hide it in the locker until, like, later, and then come back and get it, you know? Like,
I see what you mean.
I feel like that's not, like, you don't want to give people a place to stash stuff.
But also on the other side, of the coin. If they have somewhere to stash all of their bags, they can get more bags, forgetting how many bags they already had, and then just have so many bags of shopping at the mall.
I think that it's like a survival of the fittest situation, that if you cannot carry the bags that you have bought too many bags.
Very true.
And you need to go home. So I think it's probably, at least in my neck of the woods, I don't know of any malls that have lockers. But maybe I just have never partook of the lockers.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they would still have them, because again, like, maybe it's just a little bit outdated. People don't really spend all day at the mall anymore. You kind of go in and get what you want, right? As opposed to like, oh, let's go eat at the restaurant, but I don't want to bring all my bags. Or let's go to the movie theater and I don't want to bring my bags, you know?
Oh, that's a good point. I feel like most of the malls that have had movie theaters, at least around me, like I think the movie theaters have closed down at this point. Yeah. So that is a good point.
So people just don't hang out at the mall anymore, so they don't need lockers. Yeah. It's fine. Just let them all die. We don't need them. We shop online. Sorry. So the gang decides to infiltrate the underground cavern that is the Kandrona pool, in an attempt to find the Kandrona that is on Earth. So apparently there is like, they need to get the rays from somewhere, and they have brought this thing that is called a Kandrona, which is a little bit abstract in my mind still. I don't know if they mentioned. It's just like a globe of light. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm picturing it as like a mini sun sort of situation.
So I thought it was just like, I don't know, like UV lamps or something they had. But no, it's like an actual sun, miniature sun. And they have one on the ship up in space, which is fine for the people that aren't humans, but they can't really conveniently shuttle humans from Earth to ship frequently. So they have one on Earth. And if they destroy this one on Earth, it will become difficult for the human controllers to take their restorative spa days, and hopefully they will kill a bunch of them. So it's actually a good idea. Not a bad idea. I don't know if it was Jake's idea, but it wasn't a bad one.
I don't think it was. I think it was Rachel's.
Yes, my girl Rachel.
I'm pretty sure.
As Cassie is fond of saying as well. My girl Rachel.
Yeah. She puts my in front of stuff a lot. At one point in another book, she calls her like my friend, my girl. Like, I'm like, okay, Cassie, I get that you're a teen mom, but maybe stop talking like a 50-year-old woman.
My sweet daughter Rachel.
My sweet darling Rachel. Like,
they go to the mall and become cockroaches. Jake was so happy. And they enter the caves, and everything is going relatively fine until they run into a taxon who thinks they're bugs and tries to eat them.
Well, I mean, they are bugs.
Yeah, they are bugs. And thinks they are just normal bugs and tries to eat them, which he would have been doing Visser through a huge favor. What a funny way to end the series.
Right?
But as they are about to meet their doom, time freezes, and they are all forced out of their morphs, and Tobias is there, and he's a human, and Axe is there as an Andalite. And this being known as the Elemist, or as an Elemist, I don't know if it's the or an.
I mean, they refer to him as the, but there definitely are others of them.
Yes. So his name is probably just like Steve the Elemist or something.
Yes, but they don't know that because they're rude and don't ask.
They didn't ask. He revealed himself to be the one who stopped time, because he is an all-powerful being that can see into the future, and tells them that basically the humans are extinct because they lost their battle against the Yeerks in the future, which I don't know if that counts as extinction, because there are still humans and they're probably still reproducing.
Yeah.
They're just not fully human. But if the Animorphs decide right then and there for the entirety of the human race, the Elmists will take the Animorphs and a select few humans to go live on another planet and basically start over without the fear of the Yeerks. Though I don't know what would stop the Yeerks from hunting them down, but I guess they wouldn't. Assumably would have a whole universe to look into, so that might be hard.
I mean, I think the Yeerks probably wouldn't know about it, right?
Oh,
like,
I see, yeah.
It's not like the Elmis is going to be like, all right, Yeerks, you guys have fun here, and we're going to take these 20 people and go elsewhere. And thank you for your time and patience. Have a good colonizing. Peace out.
We give you this planet. We've already destroyed it anyway. So go on.
Right.
Well, that's my thing. I was thinking like, maybe I would take that offer. Like,
I wanted to ask where you would fall on this, like, if you would take the offer or not. Because I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
Think about it, though. You're 13 years old. This is a problem for the adults.
Yes, I think that's one thing. I think if this was asked to me as a 13-year-old, I would definitely be like, yes, peace out. Can I bring some books?
Take this responsibility from me, please.
I would be like, may I take my favorite authors with me so they can finish
I
the
take
series?
Tamora Pierce. I take Diana Wynne Jones.
I think when I was 13, like, J.K. Rowling probably wasn't done with the Harry Potter series, so I would have been like, can we bring her along?
Yes, we definitely need her.
Yeah, but I would be all on board. But if I was, like, the age I currently am, older and wiser than a 13-year-old, I don't know if I would take the offer or not.
It's very sudden.
Partly because the offer is like, I will take you and your loved ones to another planet, and you guys can, like, do the human race there. And as a single person, I don't know if I can limit my dating options that severely. But also, like, I do feel I would hopefully have more, like, desire to help fight against, I don't know, though, because this is the debate that comes up with the Animorphs, right? They're like, well, yes, we all want to be brave and fight and whatever, but as Cassie points out multiple times, like, environmentalists going to help animals, oftentimes the animals fight back because they can't understand that it's the best thing for them. I can see both sides of the argument. I don't know what I would do if I was currently asked to make this choice.
I think if I was currently asked as 30-year-old Anna, I'd be like, nah, bitch, I've read Slaughterhouse-5. You ain't putting me in no zoo.
That's true. I definitely got evil vibes from the Ellimist at this point. I was like, nah, no, man, you cannot trust this. I reversed that position again by the end of the book. I'm very pro-Ellimist at this point. He might be my favorite character.
But that, like, first encounter is very suspicious.
So sketchy, so sketchy. Do not go with strangers with candy, and in this case, the stranger is a creepy, weird, time-stopping alien, and the candy is your own planet.
Yeah.
Like, no. He's going to lay his eggs in you, is what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's just a different kind of parasite.
Right.
But they all vote on it, and they turn down the deal, which is good. And the Ellimist says, okay, well, if you survive this encounter, I'll ask you again. And he starts tying back up, and they are once again cockroaches that are about to be eaten by the taxon. But they demorph and fight their way to a drop shaft that they notice.
To be clear, they demorph after being eaten by the taxon, so they explode him from the inside with Axe's tail.
I forgot about that detail.
That's fucked.
That is very gross. Also, they are, like, really playing fast and loose with, like, letting Yeerks see them. Like, they demorph.
Yes. Not only fast and loose with seeing them, and I think they do kind of justify this in this. They're like, we're covered in taxon blood. They can't tell what we are.
They can tell you don't have tails.
Definitely, and don't have 4 legs. But maybe they just assumed they morphed into humans from Andalites or whatever. But as they are running away, they start fucking screaming Jake's name. And I'm like, you guys need code names. What are you doing?
They are so, like, I'm sorry. All of these Yeerks are so stupid if no one told Visser 3 about any of this. Like, I understand they're probably afraid Visser 3 will come kill them, but also, like...
Yeah, they're afraid that, because I highlighted this, that Visser 3 will come and chew your bones. That's the threat that's used. One of them says, get them, you fools, or Visser 3 will chew your bones, which is a fucking weird threat for a species that doesn't have bones.
They're like slugs, right?
They're slugs. What bones? Like, I get... And this is a thing that I noticed a lot in this book and the next one, I think. There's a lot of, like, not real attention to how the Yeerks would think about stuff, because I think at one point, I'm not sure which book it's in, but they say something about, like, oh, they said in the Yeerk language. I'm like, why would the Yeerks have how would the Yeerks have a language? Because
that's a good question.
They can't talk in their natural forms, except for, like, mind speak, and that transcends languages. So, like, why do they have one of those? What? Why? What's the point? When did they use it? When did they come up with it? Like,
that's a very good question.
yeah.
I think we need to study the linguistics of
Mm-hmm.
these alien races.
Mm-hmm.
But they noticed a drop shaft while the Elemist was talking to them, and they noticed that it was like going up and not down. So it's like an up shaft, not a drop shaft. But
because the Elemist like doesn't appear to them when they first turn into Animorphs. They like have to walk out of the cafeteria and into and then he appears, which is important for later.
Yes, it's very convenient placement of the Elemist. Mm-hmm. And they use the drop shaft to get back to the surface, and assumably go home and nap.
Yes. And Rachel turns into a bear for the first time.
Oh, that's true.
And nearly kills everyone because she's like she goes in bear rage.
Ape shit. She like lets the grizzly bear mind take over and just like starts fucking some Hork-Bajir up.
And also, again, everyone's like, I think at this point, maybe it was earlier in the planning, but they're like, oh, Rachel, I can't believe you went and acquired a new morph without telling anyone. It's like, well, maybe if Jake encouraged
anything,
encouraged, going and getting new morphs, you guys should be at that fucking zoo every single day. Like, what are you doing until you run out of animals? Get them all. You have no limitations that we know of to how many animals you can have. Get all of the animals. Why is only one of you an elephant? What's happening? Should all be all animals always.
Oh, it's the worst system anyone could have come up with. You're a human teenager. You were given the power to turn into an infinite amount of animals, and you stick with 7?
Right.
Jake, come on. What?
Jake, get it together.
And 5 of them are bugs, Jake.
And most of the rest are birds. And you guys don't need all of these birds.
No. Yeah, Rachel has like an owl, an eagle, and then some other type of bird I think she mentioned as having.
Yeah.
It's too many birds.
Too many birds. Not
Diversify your portfolios.
Exactly. Y'all really have not even gone into the reptilian side of things. Jake has a lizard, and that's pretty much it.
Y'all need to go get some snakes. Dude. Their jaws are so strong.
And they run so fast, so much faster than you would think.
Mm-hmm. So some time passes, and the Elemist returns to make the offer to the Animorphs again. And this time, he's like, I have something to show you, children. And he transports them all to a dystopian future where the Yeerks have destroyed almost the entire planet, and everything is grim and gross and gross and gross. There's like buildings with holes cut into the sides so that the taxons can slither around inside of them and have nests.
Which, I mean, yes, that seems grim from our perspective, but for the taxons, I'm sure they appreciate the increased accessibility.
That was a beautiful paradise for the taxons.
Right.
They wander around for a bit, and again, Tobias is there as a human. They're all demorphed, Axes and Andalite. And they wander around their hometown for a little while. They take note that the tallest building in town, which is the EGS Tower, is the only building remaining in the downtown area. Everything else has been leveled. And there's a weird dome on top of it, and there's a huge Kendrona pool around it. And they eventually run into Visser 3, who has been promoted to Visser 1 in this future, and an adult Rachel, who has been geared up.
They also first pretend to be Visser 3.
That's true. This was a bad
plan, very funny.
Tobias. Like, anyone who has seen Visser 3/1 would look at Axe and be like, you are very small.
You're a small child.
You're so small. So small.
But it was very good, quick thinking, I think, and very funny, because then Visser 3/1 shows up, and it's like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, no, it's definitely not.
Yeah. They took one look, and they were like, aw, man, we got fooled. But adult Rachel and Visser 3/1 appear here because they know from Rachel's past that the Animorphs all show up at this instance in time. Mm-hmm. Except adult Rachel thinks that there are supposed to be 6 human Animorphs and seems confused by the presence of Axe. So Rachel kind of comes to the child Rachel kind of comes to the conclusion that maybe this is a possible future as opposed to the actual dead-on future 100% going to happen.
Yeah. Which I didn't really get that, why adult Rachel would be confused by that, though.
I guess because time has already changed or I don't know, man.
I don't know. I was...
Multiverse.
Yeah. Because I was like, it's not like... It's like adult Rachel, because it's that the Yeerks can access Rachel's memories.
Uh-huh.
And at the point that Rachel goes into the future, she has already met Axe. So no matter what, from any possibility divergent from them, the adult Rachel should be aware of the existence of Axe, right? Like, so I don't understand, like, even if it was like, oh, Axe died in a different reality, and so, like, adult Rachel was expecting, but, like, she shouldn't be that thrown by it because she knows that Axe exists no matter what at this point. Because young Rachel has met Axe at this point.
I think the Elements just took them to a parallel universe where there were 6 kids at the construction site instead of 5, and then Axe, like, died in the water. I don't know.
But then none of this is even relevant because that's a completely different
future, not
but
the
it's not
future.
But it's not a possible future
not for them.
For them, right? So, like, what is this? I don't know. I thought that was the weak part of. I don't think that was explained enough. Why Axe being there through Rachel so much?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like an accessible way to show that time can change. You can alter.
I guess.
Yeah. Not like super fleshed out, but
it just felt a little sloppy compared to what I'm expecting of an Animorphs book.
Yeah, honestly though, she's gone a lot deeper in some of her other novels here. But so Rachel turns into a grizzly bear and is about to kill Visser 1, but they are whisked away back to their own time before she can do it. And they decide this time the future is too scary. They will accept the Elements offer. But then nothing fucking happens.
Yeah, because the Elements had said, oh, as soon as you accept it, I'll take you guys to the new planet and it'll be chill.
Yeah.
It'll be chill as fuck. But they're like, we all accept this idea. Except I think... Is
Jake
Tobias...
is the only holdout,
Is Jake the holdout? I was
no,
I know
Tobias,
there's one holdout.
Maybe Tobias, too.
Because I know he's very against it at first, but I can't remember if he switches his position or not.
So Rachel finally comes to the conclusion that the Elements was showing them this possible future in the hopes that they could change it. I guess she was just perceptive enough to pick up on these little clues.
Well, she figures out that the Elements, first off, they have this weird thing in their history class where their teacher, like, is talking about World War II and how, or maybe World War II, and like how we don't know if things would have gone differently if we'd entered the war earlier, but because of like the butterfly effect and like a butterfly flapping its wings can change, everything. And then she like repeats that like 3 times and seems to be like in a trance.
Yes.
So like that's obviously the Elements too, right?
Yes.
But then Rachel realizes that the Elements like pulled that, like in their first interaction, made them walk to that spot so that they could see the thing, the tube. And then from that, she's like, well, if he was trying to intentionally get us to notice something, maybe he was trying to get us to intentionally notice something in this other one too. And then she realizes that he essentially showed them where the Kendrona was by having them visit this exact moment.
Right. So she picks up on all those little clues that everyone else, especially Jake the leader, is too dumb to realize. And, because the Elements is not allowed to directly interfere with anything, so he's just, like, trying to push them around and not nudge them in the right direction, blah, 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 blah.
And we know a little bit about, like, the Elements because apparently Axe and the Andalites know of the Elements. And this is, like, they're kind of described, like, genies, sort of, where they're, like, they offer you this choice, but they really know which one you're, like, they're trying to manipulate you by offering this choice, and they're...
kind of like a little bit Fae, too.
Yeah. So, like, Axe really doesn't trust him.
Yes. So, yes, they go to the EGS tower, which Rachel has realized is where the on-Earth Kendrona is. And they basically go on a full-out offensive, attack the tower in their most powerful morphs. Rachel kicks ass as a grizzly bear, but like loses one of her paws. She didn't even realize it. Girl is brutal.
And she, like, at one point, there's like a bunch of Hork-Bajir soldiers in front of them, and she's like, everyone thought I was being so brave by charging at them, but really grizzly bears just have sucky eyesight, and I thought there were only like 3 of them. And
I thought they were humans.
I got too close. And I was like, good, this is good. Like,
good job, Rachel. Yeah, and she even like throws one out a window at one point.
Yeah.
And they're on the top floor of this very tall skyscraper sort of.
Rachel is coming for blood. There's also a line earlier in the book when she's flying out to like meet with Tobias or something, which there was some heavy Rachel Tobias shit in this book.
Oh yes.
But she's flying out to meet with Tobias because she like wants to talk to him about the divorce thing or the moving thing, but then she like chickens out and can't tell him about it. But she like sees a like rodent running around in her eagle form, and she's like, I wanted to crush its skull under my talons and like feel the blood gushing out.
Yes.
And she's like, but I didn't, because, you know, like Tobias is a predator and he has to do that sort of thing, but I don't have to be. I'm like, okay, Rachel, we need to discuss your need to kill, because it's a little much.
It's becoming a problem. And then she morphs into an elephant, because that is the biggest of the morphs, and she pushes the Kandrona off the top floor of the EGS tower and breaks it.
Yay.
So I guess like mission accomplished, though there wasn't much fanfare after that. The Ellimist is just like, LOL, you figured out my plan. Bye, guys.
Good job. Because when he first shows up, he's like, he takes them on a little tour of the Earth, and he's like, look at all this beautiful stuff that the Earth is. I'll rescue you guys and a couple species. Look at how beautiful the Earth is as a whole. So Cassie's like, oh yeah, it's like environmentalists trying to save like endangered species by taking them and moving them to like a protected area, which is like very, I think actually, because I was like annoyed with Cassie's thing, but I'm like, that is what environmentalism generally was in the 90s, but it's actually a much more modern environmentalist view, which is that you protect ecosystems, not species, because that's what the Ellimist actually wants, is that he wants the Earth to be saved because it as a whole is beautiful. He doesn't actually care about these individual species, right? Yeah. So I was like, yes, thank you, yes.
Yeah, see, the Ellimist is like surprisingly deep and benevolent.
Yeah. And I love that idea. Like, I love the trope of something more powerful but limited in how they can assist. So they have to like work the system in a way that makes it possible for someone else to work outside the system, right? Like, I was like, yes, this is very good. I'm very into all of this.
I approve.
Oh, so, and Rachel decides not to go with her dad.
Yeah, obviously, or else the series would be over for Rachel.
Well, Rachel's part in it would be, it would be like a Stacy in the Babysitter's Club, where she just shows up occasionally after having moved back to New York.
Yeah, and everyone's like, sorry, Stacy, we have all these inside jokes. We don't need you anymore.
You don't live here anymore. Go away.
So yeah, that was The Stranger. It went, again, like, massive lore dump.
Yes. A lot of, I knew eventually we were gonna get to time travel because of, like, we kind of spoiled ourselves with looking at some of the titles and stuff. But I did not expect time travel this early in the series and multiverses and stuff.
She's setting a strong foundation.
Yeah, it is book 7 and we are already there.
Also, there was a lot of shipping stuff in this book, I thought. Especially Axe and Jake. Well,
yeah, because Axe is still very much on my Prince kick.
I follow Prince Jake.
Yes, I will do as he commands me. Okay, Axe. The Marco Cassie stuff, a little bit less so. They're still pushing that Cassie and Jake are a couple, but I would say they are a fucking terrible couple, because there are multiple times when Cassie's like at the beginning when they go to the circus, Rachel eventually tells Jake about it, but they hide Cassie's involvement because they know Jake would be annoyed. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not saying you have to tell your significant other absolutely everything, but like, you shouldn't outright lie to your significant other about shit.
And the other thing too is, I don't know if Rachel knows that they're a couple, because she says that she knows Cassie has a crush on Jake.
I think
but
that
they say that about them being together. Like, I don't think they're open about it yet.
That's true. But either way, Cassie as
Yeah, Cassie's not.
The person who is dating Jake should be honest with Jake about
open lines of communication.
Right. And I mean, there's a little bit of like Cassie saying stuff to Marco that could be interpreted as, flirting, but
yeah,
not going to get too far into that.
Cassie, what is he going to do? Kick you off the Animorphs?
Right. Come on, Cassie.
You're the best morpher.
You're the best morpher. Everyone knows it.
So, most valuable morph, obviously Rachel, right?
I agree that Rachel was very valuable in this book, but because I am trying to not always give it to the viewpoint character, I'm going to go with Tobias for a couple reasons.
Okay.
Number one, I think he was most valuable to Rachel in terms of like, she's trying to like their friendship, even if we don't want to get like shippy with it, like their friendship is very strong in this book. Like the moments where she's trying to figure, like she's upset about the move and she like flies out to see him and is like, he's trying to be very, like he's very good at being like, I know something's wrong, like do you want to talk about it? Like he's a very good friend to her. Number one.
This is true. Yes, they obviously have a deep connection that is like not superficial because he is a hawk boy and she is a human girl.
Which also every time he turned back into a human and she like wants to go hug him,
she
I'm like,
did hug him. Yeah,
she does hug him the first time.
She ran up to him. And she said he had dreamy eyes.
Yes, very cute. But also, Tobias, I think, has the most to gain by agreeing to the Alchemist.
Yes, he can.
And he's like, no, I'm not being manipulated like this. So he
knows what's up.
He shows himself to be very committed to the cause in this book, which I think that Rachel is kind of faltering, understandably so, because she's having these like troubles of like, I really want to go have a normal life with my dad, because that's really what it boils down to. It's more than just, oh, my mom versus my dad. It's like, if she goes with her dad, she doesn't have to deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame her.
Right. Totally. I don't blame her. But I think that in terms of like continuing the war, continuing the fight, I think Tobias was a little bit stronger in that regard.
Yeah. Yes. Very true. I just thought from a very like literal standpoint, Rachel did the most damage this week. This fortnight. Excuse me. Rachel
did the most heavy lifting. Yeah.
Her grizzly morph. I mean, she's out there doing what they're supposed to be doing every day. Yes. She got like the most powerful animal she could think of. And she's like, I'm just going to use this willy-nilly. I don't care. I'm going to be bear all the time.
I think she also probably has the most morphs at this point. Like she seems to be picking them up quicker than everyone else.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah. So good for her.
She's power hungry. She wants that power.
And that blood.
Well, do you want to do series theories or morbid moment next? I don't know which.
Let's do series theories because I'm actually kind of not sure on morbid moment. So I actually have two, but I keep forgetting what the one is. So give me a second. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, so my one theory is kind of a continuation on my theory from a few episodes ago. So when they go to the future, the possible future. Visser 3, as we mentioned, has been promoted to Visser 1. In addition, when they show up there, the reason that they have to pretend, because they're like, oh, we can just walk around as whatever because, like, there's human controllers, so it's fine. So they're, like, walking around, and they get stopped by someone, and they're like, are you guys, like, they're like, what are your names? And they're like,
Butts and fart.
and the person or the Yeerk who stopped them is like, are you guys spies? You guys must be spies or something like that. So I think this leads into my theory that there is a Yeerk rebellion going on somewhere in the organization and that this might be tied to Visser 1. Because that would make sense if once the Earth gets totally taken over, Visser 1 kind of takes the rebellion and they have to go underground and they go into hiding or whatever, and they're trying to work from the inside or whatever. And in the power vacuum, Visser 3 rises up to Visser 1, right? Because we talked about how like Visser 1 might be a little bit not entirely for the Yeerk cause due to some of their actions in the past. Fingers crossed. Because I don't think it makes sense for the Yeerks to be like, oh, these humans, like, I don't think they think they're human spies because it's made very clear that the humans are completely subjugated at this point. The only way that there would be humans walking around is if there are Yeerks walking around without Yeerks, as if there are Yeerks that are against the main thrust. So I think that might be
a rebel group.
Some
Mr.
evidence.
One made her presence known.
Yes, some evidence pointing to some rebellion amongst the Yeerks.
That would be very good.
Yeah. My other theory is, well, and you know what? This actually kind of combines with morbid moments, I think. So in the beginning of this book, it's the main character addressing us, the audience, and saying, this is my name, you don't need to know, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. But they specifically say, like, you need to know what's going on, you need to know what's happening. So my theory is to how this book series ends. I'm beginning to suspect that it might end with the Animorphs not winning. And that this whole series might be, on a meta level, supposed to be, the end of this might be the Animorphs defeated in some way, but putting the call out to us as a species, like, hey, there's this threat, and you guys need to know, and you need to help us take care of it.
Yes.
I'm kind of suspecting that the ending might not be a victory proper, but more of a victory of, like, okay, now we're going to tell all of you about this, because that's the way these books are phrased, right? It's not
like kind of like a found footage sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not like you need to know this so that you know how great we are and we defeated this evil. And I mean, it's a little unclear as to when the narration is taking place. But I mean, like, it's definitely being put out there as, like, an instructional, right? Like, you need to know this so you know what we're up against.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess I would argue
gonna play into the ending.
Maybe they're not dead, but they're
no, I'm not saying they're dead necessarily. I'm saying they're not.
Still concerned about their names.
Yeah, I'm saying they're not gonna. It's either maybe it's not even the ending. Maybe partway through this series we'll get, like, okay, now all of the humans know. I think at some point a big part of the series is going to be making the rest of the world aware of what's going on.
They have tried to do that in the past.
And
yeah,
it didn't go well.
Yeah.
If Applegate is thinking ahead that far, I don't know why else the narration would be phrased in this instructional way, you know?
I dig it. Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, so that would be kind of a morbid moment if we assume that they are eventually going to be defeated to the point that they need to call in the rest of the world as reinforcements.
Yeah.
How about you? Did you have a morbid moment?
Morbid moment, I think, for me is when Rachel gets her paw cut off. Just doesn't even realize it.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
Yeah, Rachel's whole deal this book was pretty morbid. Like, she's just spiraling, and I feel like she's going to burn out very quickly soon. And because we read 2 books at a time. Like, in the next book, we do see a little bit of her faltering, but still, like, Rachel underneath it all. I think she's gonna crash and burn here soon. She's too much stress.
All of them seem like they're kind of something's got. I think part of it, and the next book, as we mentioned, we read 2 at a time. The next book kind of addresses it a little bit, but I don't know if it does it enough. So especially because it's outside of the, like, main thrust of the series. We're 7 books in, and these kids are so defeated, and they've had this victory at this point, but Rachel even says, like, we didn't see the effects of this until way later. So they don't really have, like, they do this thing and they're like, yeah, we did it, but they don't really see, like,
they don't feel like they did it.
Yeah, they don't feel like they've done anything. And I get it because the series is so long running. Like, they're obviously not going to strike huge victories against the Yeerks every book, but they're going to have to do something to make it feel like they're not just utterly defeated all the time.
Yeah. I feel bad for these kids. They're 13
having
they're making decisions for the entire human race.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Should not be their job.
Oh, man. They should be thinking about how they look with braces and pimples and stuff.
But, yeah, all that being said, I guess next fortnight, we are going to be continuing the Animorphs series. We decided we are reading these in the order they are chronologically written. So we are going to be moving away from the main series into Animorphs Megamorphs #1.
Yes, but I think this is how it was meant to be read.
Yes, I think so too.
Yes. There's a lot of shit that goes on in this book, so.
Yeah. Well, I have comments about it, but we'll see. we'll talk about it next fortnight.
Yes.
So until then, if you guys want to talk to us about Animorphs, hit us up on social media. We're on Twitter at HateReadcast. You can also email us at haterecast@gmail.com. If you want to talk about Animorphs, we're happy to read emails, thoughts on the show. Or if you have a book suggestion for when we get back to, which is going to be in a couple months here, when we get back to our normally scheduled programming. Actually, I think it'll be a month and a half by the time you guys hear this. So if you guys have a book that you think is outrageous or really bad or really good, but surprising, in a surprising way, because we are kind of mixing it up once we come back from this, once we do our relaunch, hit us up on email, let us know, and we will add it to our schedule.
Yeah, we're excited to read a lot of different things. Surprise us with your suggestions. As always, thank you to Ben Cope for the use of our theme song. You can check out his YouTube channel in our show notes below. And we are also on all of your favorite podcast aggregating platforms. So if you haven't followed or subscribed to us on one of those, you definitely should. Especially with the relaunch coming up, you'll want to make sure that you are still following us because we'll be changing our name. So we don't want it to get lost in the internet for you. Of course, we'll make a bunch of announcements and stuff when we do that. But also, if you use Apple Podcasts, we would really appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star review. And if you don't use Apple Podcasts, feel free to proclaim our greatness from every mountaintop.
In the words of K.A. Applegate, Cassie has been my best friend forever. I have no idea why.
Yes, I love that.
Savage.
You were such a bitch.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I mean, he's essentially, tearing apart the family. Oh my god, hold on. Yes, come in here, click-clack with your nails.
He's a good dog. He's a precious baby.
No, don't encourage him. Don't encourage this behavior. Artie, just lay down somewhere, please. Don't. Oh my god, he's just coming over here to tippy tap in my face. Come over here.